بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Can I just ask everyone to please shift slightly forward, inshallah, just a little bit. We're expecting a few more people, so we need some more space. So thank you all for attending this week's gathering, online and in person. For those that are new to the Sacred Compass gatherings, we are here every Wednesday. Doors open at 7:15, and we try our best to start promptly at 7:30 p.m. inshallah. So for those that are hearing about the Sacred Compass branding for the first time, what you'll notice about our gathering is our niche, our focus is being practical. So as long as you remain attentive, you can always take something away for your homes and your communities, which will bring you closer to Allah. Now, last week we had Sheikh Muhammad, last public gathering, we had Sheikh Muhammad here on the podium. And what he spoke about was the true meaning of sacrifice. Now, traditionally, when you think about sacrifice, you think about losing something, or you think about something being removed away from your life for the sake of Allah. But Imam Hussein radiallahu anh, the beloved grandson of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, mentioned and redefined what sacrifice meant. Now, sacrifice isn't losing or removing something from your life, but rather it's the act of exchanging with Allah for something far better, far more superior than we can possibly imagine. Now, for this, Ustadh Abdullah, who will be talking about the path to destruction, and then we follow this talk with a group dhikr session led by Ustadh Abdullah again, and then we end the session off with a one-to-one consultation period, where you can use this time to speak to Abdullah about any issues or any problems that you're having. And he talked about a path where you can use the four faculties you've been gifted by Allah, your body, mind, heart, and soul, and nafs, to bring you closer to Allah, overcome any difficulty. And with that, I'll pass it on to Abdullah, who will give us a very quick Quran citation.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا قيما لينذر بأسا شديدا من لدنه ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا حسنا ماكثين فيه أبدا وينذر الذين قالوا اتخذ الله ولدا ما لهم به من علم ولا لآبائهم كبرت كلمة تخرج من أفواههم إن يقولون إلا كذبا فلعلك باخع نفسك على آثارهم إن لم يؤمنوا بهذا الحديث أسفا إنا جعلنا ما على الأرض زينة لها لنبلوهم أيهم أحسن عملا وإنا لجاعلون ما عليها صعيدا جرزا أم حسبت أن أصحاب الكهف والرقيم كانوا من آياتنا عجبا إذ أوى الفتية إلى الكهف فقالوا ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. صدق الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. اللهم يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك ولعظيم سلطانك. بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Welcome everyone to today's Sacred Campus Gathering. During the summer holidays, the attendance fluctuates, and obviously that also fluctuates from a speaker's perspective as well. People plan holidays, last minute flights. So unfortunately for you today, everybody's abroad apart from me. So inshallah we'll try our best. So Allah help us, help me. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Did anyone see the poster for today's gathering, the topic? Amir is nodding. What was it? Tasin, you should know, you made the poster. En route to destruction. So, alhamdulillah, last week we had an example of Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu anhu, who obviously is one of the greatest examples for us to follow, as well as examples of those who we should follow, and examples of goodness and righteousness. Allah and through the Prophet ﷺ also teach the stories and examples of those who not to follow. So we get both perspectives. From the first type of people, those who to follow, we get an insight of what to do and how to behave and how to react. And from the opposite side, why it's useful to study the lives and times and behaviors and actions of wrongdoers, because it teaches us what not to do and how not to behave and how not to react. So we get a balanced spectrum, a balanced view from both sides. So inshallah today we'll be looking at 7 types of people who think that they are on the right path, but they're actually on a path of destruction. So these teachings are extracted from the lessons of our Mashaykh, from it's like an overview, a summarization of the types of people, the types of wrongdoers that we encounter from the Seerah, from the Quran, and so on and so forth. So these people are, in fact, you can say that they are deluding themselves. They are joking with themselves. They're thinking that, I'm a path, I am doing right, I'm on a path of righteousness. But really they are on a path to hell, to Jahannam. But the sad thing is that they can't even see it, they don't even realize it. So the first type of person, all of these lessons apply to believers. That's one key thing I would like to stress. They don't apply to kuffar, they apply to people that say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah and claim to be Muslim. So it applies to every single one of us. It's not a far-fetched and remote analogy or remote concept. We should apply it to ourselves first and foremost, and myself first and foremost. This applies to every single one of us. So inshallah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The first type of person is a person who verbally, with their tongue, repents or says astaghfirullah or does istighfar or uses tasbih or adhkar of tawbah, but internally there is no change. Internally they haven't They're not embodying it. They're not actually, there is no practice within themselves. So they are repenting with their tongues, you can say, but they're not repenting with their hearts. So what this means is that a person who does lip service with Allah. So when they do, or when they think they're doing tawbah, we have these awrad, daily awrad. Who knows Sayyid al-Istighfar? Apart from the litanies, daily litanies of morning and evening. Sayyid al-Astaghfar is literally means the master of all astaghfar, of all du'as for asking for forgiveness. So this is something that we do 3 times a day, in the evening and in the morning. And the Prophet ﷺ mentions that whoever does this, they are forgiven for what they did from the morning to the evening and the evening to the morning. And it's the greatest adhkar. So Allahumma anta rabbi la ilaha illa ant خلقتني وأنا عبدك على عهدك ووعدك ما استطعت أعوذ بك من شر ما صنعت أبوء لك بنعمتك علي وأبوء بذنبي فاغفر لي فإنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت. The meaning is very powerful. I could go into it, but the point is that it's a heavy statement. But sometimes we can find ourselves, especially those of us who, alhamdulillah, may have made this into a practice where we're just saying it for the sake of saying it, we become in a habit of just repeating it. There's no actual thought about what we actually say. So Allah is talking about this type of person where there's only lip service, but there's no actual commitment or effort to internally do tawbah. Because that's the meaning of tawbah. What's the meaning of tawbah? Tawbah literally means to turn back, i.e. to change. So if your lip service doing tawbah, you just recite astaghfirullah, but there's no change in the heart, this is one of the type of person that is actually deluding themselves, because there is no tawbah there. There's not, the reality of tawbah hasn't settled in the heart. Does that make sense? So you got a person could be doing thousands of astaghfirullah. The only thing is a change. What do we say? What's the hadith in Ramadan? Some people achieve for Ramadan only hunger and thirst. Similarly, it's the same sort of concept where you could do 1,000 astaghfar, put all that effort in, I don't know, an hour of astaghfar, but it's just lip service. There's no effort to actually change the reality with it. If there's a sin or anything like that, there's no effort to leave that sin. There's no effort to actually make an improvement. There's no effort to at the same time, people might get confused that you have to have change straight away. There's a process to change. Allah also mentions that even if a servant of mine, Hadith Qudsi, I'm paraphrasing, even if a servant of mine was to turn back to me 70 times a day in Tawbah, after 70 times committing the same sin, I was still forgiven. But this isn't just saying astaghfirullah. The Mashayikh say this means that they 70 times they did astaghfar, the tawbah that we need to do, but 70 times they attempted to make that change. But for whatever reason, they were overpowered by their habits or their nafs or whatever, they fell into the same trap or the same sin, but they still got up and tried again. That's different, because there is an attempt to make a change. Tawbah doesn't mean you're going to stop doing what you're doing forever. It means that you're trying to change. Allah just wants the effort. So it's not that, yes, that's it. If you sin again, that's it. Your tawbah was undone. Your tawbah was done. If you sinned, you put effort into trying again, but you fell into the same sin out of weakness. You recognize that, you try again. That's tawbah. Does that make sense? It's not that you completely left it and never do it again, and only that counts as tawbah. It's not that. It's that you sincerely try, sincerity in trying. That's what Allah wants. The second type of person is a person who asks Allah for tawfiq. What do we mean by tawfiq? Ability, right? Ability means to do good or good deeds or good actions or a good thing, but they themselves put no effort and don't strive. What do we mean by that? It means it means a person who asks Allah, Allah give me the tawfiq. I don't know. Say for example, Allah give me the tawfiq to earn halal risk or earn money or have a good job. He doesn't apply for a job. He sits at home, sits on the sofa. He accepts someone to knock on the door and offer him a job. That's what that means. That the person isn't striving or putting effort into whatever they're asking for. That person is deluding themselves to think that Allah just transfers power and ability to you and it will something magically happen. No. Our Mashaykh used the analogy. So for example, another example I can mention is like it's like sitting at the bank of a river, yeah, just sitting there and expecting gold or diamond to wash up to your feet and you'll become a millionaire, like that. It's the delusion in thinking that without tying your camel, as we all know, the hadith about tying your camel, something will miraculously happen. That's not how miracles work. Yeah. So tawbah is when Allah transfers power to you, but you need to put your part in. And when tawfiq from Allah meets effort from you, that's when an amal or a deed is born. Yeah. So you can say tawfiq is the father, effort is the mother. It produces an amal, a deed. That's the correct application of tawfiq. Also, as if like when two wires come together, who knows a little bit about electricity? Yeah, you have the positive wire where the current is through, and there's a negative, the earth wire, right? You can say that Allah's tawfiq is the positive, and you're not actually doing much. But the spark or the electricity or the result is produced when both come together. Without both of them coming together, there is no effect. If that makes sense. So the positive power and the negative wire has to come together, tawfiq and effort, to produce the result. So we should be mindful with ourselves. We Allah, always asking for tawfiq. Allah, help me purify myself. Allah, give me the tawfiq to overcome this sin, this. But we, similarly to the first one, we put no effort in, we put no means in, we put no effort into changing the situation. We expect things to happen on a what's the phrase where to be served on a platter. That's not how it works. Allah looks at the effort. That's when tawfiq materializes. Tawfiq doesn't materialize without effort. The third person is a person who wants to avoid failure or falling into sin or mistakes, but doesn't take precautions. He does not refrain from things that harm him. For example, like many of us have been students, or there are students here amongst us. A person who is at university or college, he wants to be successful, but at the same time, he doesn't stop being lazy. He doesn't study. He doesn't do anything. Yeah, he doesn't take precautions. I don't know if there's a company, something like that, is preventing him from doing well. He doesn't take precautions. And one of the meanings of taqwa is actually, it means to stop yourself from harmful things that are harming you, or even stop yourself from harming yourself. So essentially, in order to avoid failure, one needs to avoid things that take you to failure. You can't be healed in an environment, of sickness, in the same environment which led you to sickness. If you're in a room full of bacteria and that bacteria got you sick, remaining in that room, are you gonna get better? No, you take yourself out of that room, go to a cleaner environment, and the process of healing and repair can happen. Similarly, if you're surrounded by company if you're surrounded by friends, associates who you only absorb wrong from, you only do wrong with, you only sin around them, you only are encouraged to do sin, you're only encouraged to do bad. Remaining in that company, is that going to benefit you? Are you going to get any better? No. So you're deluding yourself to think, oh, I can become pious, but all my friends tell me to go clubbing, or I don't know, meet girls or meet boys or do drugs. I don't know what people are. Well, I do know what people are doing nowadays, but you know what people are doing nowadays. You're not going to get better, are you? You have to take yourself out of that environment. That's when. That's when change can actually start happening. If you think otherwise, then one is deluding themselves to think to remain in that company, to remain in those places. You think that things will change. No, good luck. Nothing will change. So essentially, you need to take yourself out. The things that made you sick, stay away from it. Take yourself away from it. That's the main problem. The fourth type of person is a person who wants closeness of Allah, but he himself does not befriend the creation. He does not fulfill the rights of the creation. He causes enmity between people. He has fights with people, arguments with people. His conduct with the creation, is not befitting of a person who is a friend of Allah. There's another famous hadith Qudsi where the Prophet ﷺ mentions, Allah mentions, I was sick and you didn't visit me. I was hungry and you didn't feed me. Essentially what Allah is saying is that you will find Allah in dealing with the creation in the right way. That's where Allah is. It's not a magic formula. Many of us, we are guilty of mistreating people who are closest to us or not doing the best that we could do. Then how do we expect Allah to, befriend us when we ourselves are not people who others, family members, neighbors, friends, associates, colleagues look at as someone who is pleasant. Look at someone who does good. Look at someone who is a source of peace and a source of goodness. If we don't, then we can't expect. Allah deals with the servant as we deal with him. Yeah, Allah deals with us as we think of him, and as part of that is how we deal with the creation. Because in dealing with the creation is a secret to with Allah. Because if Allah wanted to, He could have said me, Abdullah, on my own planet, will be called Planet Abdullah, nobody else there. I've just been doing dhikr all day and I don't know, eating, sleeping, just chilling, right? But Allah, by design, created us with families. With families comes both happiness and challenges, pleasure and challenges. Because we don't decide who our family members are. We don't decide who our dad is. We don't decide who our mom is. We don't decide who our sisters are. Allah has chosen these people for us. And in the relationships with these people and our reaction and our conduct with these people is the secret of success. Primarily with the family, first and foremost, and then with the wider society. Why? Because when we don't have a choice of who our family, if I have a brother or a sister, I don't have a choice who they are. But my conduct with them will be tested. Sometimes it will be good, sometimes it will be bad, sometimes it will be difficulty. Those are tests that Allah has done by design to bring out what is within us, what needs work, right? And also, if we think that if we are causing difficulty to other people, how will Allah give us ease in anything? If we are a source of difficulty for people, it's delusion to expect Allah to solve our problems when we are not solving problems for others. Again, those of us who are on the retreat this weekend, and obviously mentioned here many times, that the purpose, our purpose here is to be the reflection of Allah's sifat. Is any of Allah's sifat to be difficult with His creation? No. He's Rahman, Rahim, Latif, Kareem, Ghafoor, Ghaffar, Razaq. These are all qualities of giving, of helping. If we are doing the opposite, then we aren't reflecting Allah. Then if we're not reflecting Allah's sifat and His attributes, then we can't expect Allah, you know, closeness to Allah, because we're not reflecting it from the get-go. So that's the fourth type of person. Actually, before we go there, just as Allah dislikes those who cause difficulty for His creation, Allah loves those who benefit the creation. And the creation comes in the form of human beings, family, Muslims, non-Muslims, community, wider community, so on and so forth. But it also comes in the form of, the general creation, animal kingdom, the environment, so on and so forth. So again, it's like the Prophet ﷺ says, the Muslim is the one who people are safe from his tongue and his hand, i.e., his speech and his actions. We strive for these things where we really try and evaluate. So for me and mostly for everyone, to really analyze our lives and see where any relationships or anything like that where we need to repair, or especially with family, because family is the one where we will be held accountable to a large degree. And there's ways of doing it. So if there is anyone with any difficulty or issues with family members, then Sheikh Muhammad, Ustadh Harun, we can discuss as to ways of navigating that, because it's not as simple as, and sometimes there is precaution needed, right? Maintaining ties doesn't mean being best friends, because that's what Allah wants. The Prophet ﷺ wants you to maintain ties. Maintain ties means being pleasant. It doesn't mean best friends. It doesn't mean having dawats every Sunday. It doesn't mean that. It means being pleasant and no harm coming from oneself to another person. That's what maintaining ties means. And also it means different, because I don't know, if you've been hurt or burnt by some family member, even abuse, just face it, it happens. Abuse. How do you navigate that? There are some technicalities or ways of navigating through that. That could be help from specialists. So don't get me wrong, we live in reality. Sometimes there are trauma and things like that you need to work through. So that was type 4. So just quickly, type 1 was, does anyone remember what type 1 was? No tawbah of the heart, i.e. that they do with the lip service with the tongue, many astaghfar, but no change from the heart. Type 2, a person who asks Allah for tawfiq but puts no effort. So effort and tawfiq go hand in hand. They have to marry each other for something to happen. Otherwise, you sit there aimlessly, thinking that one day something will fall out of the sky. That's not how it works. Type 3, a person who wants to avoid failure but does not take what Yaqub precautions. Well done. That's right. So they don't take themselves out of the environment that is harming them, the environment that, or the people that the bad company, thinking that, I can change whilst being with these people. No, you have to sometimes, no, not even sometimes, almost all the time, remove yourself from that, clean yourself up, and if you truly love those people, then once you yourself are strong enough to abstain from their calls and their whispers and whatever they're up to, the vices, then you can help them. But you can't help them while you're doing the same thing at the same time. It's like me going to the pub with my friends and drinking alcohol and say, yeah, let's stop drinking. I'm drinking alcohol. What is that? It's delusion. The fourth type of person that we just discussed was a person who wants the closeness of Allah but does not behave appropriately with the creation. So somebody who causes difficulty, somebody who shows no mercy and compassion upon the creation, but they could expect compassion, help, and mercy from Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay, the fifth type of person is a person who wants Jannah, who always asks for Jannah. Is a person who wants Jannah, who always asks for Jannah, but does not walk the path of heavenly people. What do we mean by that? Atiq, what do we mean by that? A person who wants Jannah, who asks for Jannah, but does not walk the path that leads to Jannah. Yeah, that's a good answer. Any other ideas? Any sisters got any ideas? What do we mean by a person who wants Jannah but is not ready or walks the path that leads them to Jannah? Lifestyle, elaborate a little bit.
So, let's say being very dunya focused, chasing money, materialistic things, and not maybe doing dawah work or working in spirituality.
Yeah, that's right. So you've got right answers. This links to the type 6. As I said, opposites. We learn through opposites, right? The one who wants to save himself from fire but does not stop walking the path that leads to Jahannam or the hellfire. So you see how they're linked. The one who is not ready to walk the path to Jannah, then is obviously walking the path to hell. So what do we mean by that? Primarily, it means the one who is not ready or is not willing to give up the unlawful desires of the flesh, food, fame, carnal desires. Every desire that a person has, the unlawful, they don't want to give it up, wherever it is. Allah has made lawful means, but they insist on choosing the unlawful way. This person is deluding themselves to think that, that they're safe. So these are ultimately the paths to Jahannam. When there is a lawful door, they opt for the unlawful. Ultimately, the unlawful haram doesn't benefit anyone, right? So, for example, halal food. 99% of food, let's say, is halal, right? Most food is halal. But they still opt for the 1% haram. How foolish is that? Allah has made plenty that's halal, but you opt for the haram. Similarly with drink, most drink is halal. Alcohol is haram. There's all types of different flavors that, if you really wanted to, maybe it's not all good for you, but if you really wanted, there's plenty of flavors out there. Most drinks that anyone can produce is halal. In fact, when you speak to colleagues and friends that are, maybe non-Muslim, they don't drink alcohol. Even the ones that are Muslim and drink alcohol, they don't actually like it. All the time, they dislike it, and it takes them a little while to get into it. And it's really strange as to why do you do it? It's because of the peer pressure. It's because of the socialization element. It's because to fit in, right? That's why a lot of people actually do it. I remember we were at school. As soon as up until 16, 17, you could say everyone got along, similar interests, similar hobbies, similar, things that we were talking about. As soon as we hit 17, 18, our non-Muslim friends, they discovered alcohol, relationships, all that kind of stuff. And, they did actually like the alcohol at the beginning. But, it's this whole socializing peer pressure. That's why peer pressure, the company is important. Yeah, so the person is deluded if they think, continuing and insisting on the path of destruction, or path of Jahannam, whilst I'm Muslim, I'm okay, you're saved, you're not, because you're deluding yourself, you're intentionally doing it. There's another issue if it's a habit, if it's something that you're actively trying to deal with, or you acknowledge that there's wrong, that's different, because a person is trying to change. But this is a person who insists on it and is entrenched in it. It links with all the other 6 points where there's no effort from their part to actually do anything about it. There is a new phenomena, not new, but a phenomena where many people are justifying some of the habits and sicknesses that they have, right? So many people justifying homosexual relationships, many people justifying outer marital affairs or outer marital relationships, many people justifying alcohol, many people justifying haram food. Ultimately, that comes from where? The source of the nafs. The nafs is telling you that. So this is delusion. This is delusion again. And finally, type 7. This one is quite. I want you to think deeply because it ultimately reveals one's relationship with Allah, essentially. Is a person who does dhikr, who worships, who prays, all of these kind of things to Allah, but really they don't have a longing to be with Allah or to see Allah or to meet Allah. It's like somebody repeating, "Oh, I love so and so, I love so and so, I love so and so," but an opportunity comes, "Oh, let's go and meet them then." No, no, not really. I'm not. Are we? This is the sinister one, a sinister category, because say for example all of the other stuff maybe you felt value yourself you're okay with. This one is where actually is there a deficiency within our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ultimately. That's why, hence why we have the path of purification, and including in that is the path to ikhlas, sincerity, and the levels of sincerity, actually practically evaluating our sincerity. So again, what that reveals is that a person doesn't actually love Allah. It's all lip service. There is a problem with ikhlas, there's a problem with sincerity there, that they're not actually doing it for Allah. So we need to think about who are we actually doing it for. Because ultimately, if there was prayer, devotion, dhikr, all of them, if there was sincerity there, naturally one's heart yearns for Allah Azza wa Jal. Jazakumullah khair. I could go over the 7 categories again, just quickly, briefly. So, type 1, a person who verbally does tawbah, but their heart doesn't enact any change. Type 2, a person who asks Allah for tawfiq, for good, to be able to do good deeds and good actions, but does not strive or put any effort. Type 3, a person who wants to avoid failure and pitfalls, but does not take precautions. Type 4, a person who wants the closeness of Allah Azza wa Jal, but does not have compassion and befriend and are good with the creation. Type 5, a person who wants the kingdom of heaven, Jannah, but does not walk the path that leads to Jannah. Similarly, in type 6, the one the one the one the one who wants to save himself from Jahannam but does not stop walking the path that leads to Jahannam. And type 7, a person who does dhikr and worships Allah Azza wa Jal but has no longing to meet and be with Allah. Ultimately, there is no love for Allah. There is another reason that they need to really evaluate their sincerity with Allah. I mean, we have some youngsters here today. Being a youngster myself many years ago, I can't believe I'm in my 30s now. Don't feel like it. But the key piece of advice, Uncle has requested something for the youngsters because they're on summer holiday, they're here, is, in my opinion, from today's nasiha, is the importance of good company. When you're, especially when you're in your teens, your early teens, the company can make or break you for the rest of your life. Similar, like we said, the deluded person is the one who thinks that they can change whilst being around bad environment. Bad environment also means bad company. So choose your friends wisely, choose your company wisely, and if you see any wrong amongst them, ultimately you grow up with people, and there is a certain degree of love and affection to people that you grow up with. Because you have a shared life experience. To think if there is someone in that friend circle or somebody that is going on the wrong path, to think that you can help them whilst being engaged with them is delusion, is not wise, because they will end up most likely influencing you more than you will influence them. So you have to be strong yourself. Sometimes you take yourself out of that environment. Sometimes it's forced. So, for example, my story, not amazing, but I went to a school where majority were non-Muslim. Most of my friends growing up were non-Muslim. English friends, Nigerian, Jamaican friends. When you're at school, you got along, you had all these interests, they shared, I don't know, cricket, football, sports, Pokemon, whatever it was. As soon as they hit 16, 17, they all went to a particular college. I didn't go to that college. Luckily, through my father's intervention. And Alhamdulillah, I was forced in an environment where I was away from them. And I actually met the brother who actually taught me about all of this through the college that I did end up going to. But that was forced and that was unintentional. But the point was this, that if I had remained amongst them, what my other friends were up to? They were up to getting girls pregnant. Some of them were dealing drugs. Some of them are dead. They're dead for stupidity, over girls, over drugs, all these kind of things. That could have been me. Alhamdulillah, Allah forced me out of it without me realizing. But what I'm saying to you is that sometimes those opportunities don't arise. It requires a person to really be wise themselves. So choose your company wisely. Is that okay, Brother Hamza? Okay. All right, Zahid, does anyone have any questions or any comments or anything like that? Please be far away.
I think in the first place, the habit of saying stuff for a while, is there a point? Is it just a couple of days, 100 times, 200 times a day?
No, there's nothing wrong with doing it, but what's more important is that action of doing the dhikr has to be coupled with the change that's happening inside. If you're just saying astaghfirullah, 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 I don't know, you're saying astaghfirullah, 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 but you're looking at music videos or women that you're not supposed to be looking at. That's delusional. So you're astaghfirullah, but really internalizing, thinking about sins or habits that you need to change, and making steps for changing that. And you're encouraged to do dhikr. There's nothing wrong with dhikr. But dhikr has to be coupled with action. That's what it is. From the sisters, anything? Yes, go on. The first one, what was the first type of person? Lip service, no action. Yeah? So you're saying astaghfirullah and asking Allah for forgiveness, but you're not actually doing anything about changing. That's what it means. Is that okay? Is that all right? My niece coming for the first time. All right. Is there anything else? Yeah.
The last point, when you said you prefer to pray separately, not belong to Allah. What if a person does good deeds, but not for the sake of Allah, for the sake of the need of Allah? Is that going towards the wrong path?
Yeah. So if you're a Muslim, I was an atheist, if you do good deeds, then you're doing good, right? Good deeds, ultimately, if it's not for Allah, then it's for yourself or for something else. Then you don't expect a result from Allah. Essentially, you don't expect, you're giving the fruit of your labor. If it wasn't for Allah, so what's the remind me? I think Isa probably know some of these. When when the Sahaba went for jihad somewhere, and one of the Sahaba went for the purpose of marriage. His intention was marriage. So the Prophet ﷺ said, "You intended marriage, you got marriage." Whereas others intended for jihad for Allah, fi sabilillah, that's what they got achieved. They achieved reward from Allah. There'll be no reward in it, essentially. There's no reward in it. And if there's no reward in it, there's no benefit in it. It's like a temporary event that's happened. There's no spiritual consequence. It might even become spiritually detrimental if it was for yourself, for example, if it's for ego, if it's for, I don't know, I'm giving loads of money to charity so people praise me, then ultimately you're spiritually deteriorating. Your nafs is becoming egotistical, is becoming self-righteous, and all these kind of shaitanic qualities. So if it's not anything that's not for the sake of Allah, ultimately will lead to a path of destruction. Okay? Anything else? Is that all? Okay, inshallah. Where's his brother? I saw Brother Daniel. Inshallah, the brother Daniel will introduce the dhikr for today while I get ready. Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, as Ustadh Abdullah mentioned, we will begin our dhikr now. I think most people have joined us for the dhikr before, but just in case any viewers online or anyone here hasn't done it before, it is a collective dhikr. There's many benefits of doing dhikr like this, especially that it's said in the hadith that angels roam the earth looking for a gathering like this where Allah is remembered. And it's mentioned in the hadith that everyone is forgiven, even people who are just walking by. So a lot of barakah in a gathering like this. Ustadh Abdullah will be leading the dhikr and we'll be following along. There should be a PDF in the WhatsApp group which you can follow along if you don't know the words. And essentially, the Mashaykh mentioned when engaging in a dhikr like this is to bring the three keys to mind. So imagine that Allah is with you, Allah can hear you, and Allah can see you. And when you do this, it elevates the experience completely. And if you, it is encouraged to use the power of your imagination. So close your eyes and imagine the name of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And imagine that there's light pouring from His name and coming down like rainfall on this gathering, cleansing you, taking away any worries that you may have, and essentially keep the three keys in mind. And if you find your mind wandering, just bring back the three keys. Allah is with you, Allah can hear you, and Allah can see you. So,
The lights are turned off just for concentration. Don't be alarmed. So again, Allah is with me, Allah is watching me, Allah is hearing me. If you find yourself waning in concentration, focus, then you can use a power of imagination. So imagine Allah's name, light from Allah's name is entering your heart and covering the gathering. You can also use other imagery like Medina, Kaaba, so on and so forth. Other names of Allah as well. Maghrib is in shortly soon, so we'll do about 10 minutes and pray Maghrib straight away, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض. من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه. يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء. وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي. يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا. مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. محمد سيد الكونين والثقلين والفريقين من عرب ومن عجم. هو الحبيب الذي ترجى شفاعته لكل هول من الأهوال مقتحم. مولاي صل وسلم دائما كلهم على حبيبك خير الخلق فاعلم أنه لا إله إلا الله 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 الله أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم وأتوب إليه أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم وأتوب إليه اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم اللهم آمين اللهم يا ربي بجاه سيدنا محمد عبد الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اجمع بيننا وبين سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله في الدنيا قبل الآخرة يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك العظيم سلطانك يا ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين اللهم اغفر لنا واغفر لنا ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم برحمتك اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. Ya Allah, accept this gathering from us. Allah, accept us from us the dhikr and the effort of being here, Ya Arhamar Rahim. Allah, bless us, our families, anybody here going through any difficulty in any capacity, Allah, allow a resolution, a solution, Ya Arhamar Rahim, and help from you, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. Allah, have mercy upon all the believers, all the masakeen, the fuqara, the madhlumeen, and those who are suffering all over the world, Ya Arhamar Rahim, especially in Palestine, in Sham, in Burma, in Yemen, in Sudan, in places which we have forgotten, but you have not forgotten, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. Allah, help them and accept from them their shuhada and their sacrifice, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. Allah, bless us, bless this gathering, accept from us this gathering, and allow us to internalize the nasiha, especially myself, internalize the nasiha and allow us to enact and be steadfast upon it, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. Allah. Allah, we thank you for another opportunity to congregate and for your sake and for your pleasure, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. Allah. Allah, forgive us for any shortcomings or any mishaps in our concentration, in our intentions, Ya Arhamar. Allah, forgive us, Ya Arhamar Rahimeen. وصلي على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين. Inshallah, we'll pray Maghrib. Turn the lights on, please. Can we get the mic at the front? Is that right? Brother Hamza, can you do the adhan?